As Nelson Mandela once said, "To deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity." These words echo the cries of millions who suffered under the oppressive regime of apartheid in South Africa. A system that segregated and subjugated based on the color of one's skin, apartheid was a dark chapter in human history. It's a tale of systemic injustice, of the struggle for freedom, and of the indomitable spirit of those who fought against it. This story, though marred by pain and suffering, is also a testament to the power of resilience, of unity, and of the enduring pursuit of justice. It's a narrative that has shaped the fabric of South Africa and continues to influence conversations on race, equality, and human rights across the globe. With this powerful quote in mind, what is apartheid and why did it occur in South Africa? Apartheid, an Afrikaans word meaning apartness, was a policy of racial segregation that existed in South Africa from 1948 to 1994. It was more than just a policy though. It was a system, a way of life, that profoundly shaped the country and its people. Let's rewind the tape back to the mid-20th century. South Africa, a country rich in natural resources, was a boiling pot of racial and ethnic diversity. The white minority, primarily of Dutch and British descent, held political power and economic control. The black majority, along with colored and Indian communities, were marginalized, disadvantaged, and dispossessed. The seeds of apartheid were sown in this fertile ground of disparity. The National Party, representing the Afrikaner interests, rose to power in 1948 on the platform of apartheid, promising to safeguard the interests of the white minority. Once in power, the National Party wasted no time in implementing the apartheid system. Laws were put in place that segregated the population by race, dictating where people could live, work, go to school, and even whom they could marry. The Population Registration Act, the Group Areas Act, and the Prohibition of Mixed Marriages Act were just a few of the many legislative tools used to enforce this system of racial segregation. But apartheid was more than a set of laws. It was a system that seeped into every aspect of life in South Africa, creating a society where racial identity determined one's place and prospects in life. It was a system that dehumanized and degraded, denying basic human rights and freedoms. However, this system was not implemented without resistance. Individuals, communities, and organizations stood up against the injustices and inequalities of apartheid. They fought for freedom, equality, and democracy. Apartheid was a system designed to perpetuate racial inequality, but it didn't go unchallenged. The apartheid system was met with strong resistance both domestically and internationally. As the iron grip of apartheid tightened, so too did the resolve of those determined to end this system of racial segregation and oppression. At home, in South Africa, the resistance was brave and unyielding. Ordinary citizens, fueled by their dreams of freedom and equality, took to the streets in protests and strikes. They faced down the brutality of the apartheid regime, armed only with their courage and conviction. The Soweto uprising in June 1976, led by students, stands as a testament to their indomitable spirit. On an organizational level, the African National Congress, or the ANC, waged a relentless campaign against apartheid. Key figures like Nelson Mandela and Oliver Tambo emerged, their names becoming synonymous with the struggle for liberation. Mandela, enduring 27 long years of imprisonment, remained undeterred, his belief in a free and democratic South Africa never wavering. Internationally, the world began to take notice of the atrocities unfolding in South Africa. Calls for an end to apartheid echoed across continents. Sanctions were imposed, severing economic ties and isolating South Africa. Countries, organizations, and individuals stood in solidarity with the oppressed, their collective voices amplifying the call for justice. The resistance was not without its costs. Lives were lost, families torn apart, and communities devastated. Yet, amidst the darkness, hope endured. The resistance made it clear that the apartheid system, no matter how ruthlessly enforced, could not crush the human spirit. Artists, too, played a crucial role in the resistance, using their craft to expose the harsh realities of apartheid and inspire change. Music, literature, and visual arts became powerful tools of protest, their messages resonating across borders and generations. And so, the resistance against apartheid was as diverse as it was determined. It was a chorus of voices, rising in unison, demanding an end to the inhumanity of apartheid. It was a battle fought on every front by every means possible, by those who believed in a future where all South Africans could live in freedom and equality. Despite the harsh repression, the voices of resistance continued to grow louder and stronger. The battle against apartheid was long and hard-fought, but eventually the system began to crumble. In the late 20th century, South Africa was on the brink of change. After spending 27 years behind bars, Nelson Mandela, the iconic anti-apartheid activist, was released from prison in February of 1990. His release marked a pivotal turning point in the history of the nation. It was a beacon of hope that signified the beginning of the end of apartheid. Nelson Mandela's freedom was not the only symbol of change. The negotiations for a new democratic constitution were also underway. These talks were the groundwork for a new era in South Africa, an era of equality, freedom, and justice. It was a painstaking process, filled with hurdles and setbacks, but the end result was a constitution that promised to uphold the rights of all South Africans, regardless of their race or ethnicity. The end of apartheid did not magically erase the deep-seated racial tensions and disparities that had been ingrained in the society for decades. However, it did pave the way for a more inclusive and equitable South Africa. It allowed the nation to start healing from its past and work towards building a better future. The end of apartheid marked a new beginning for South Africa, but its legacy is still felt today. Apartheid was more than just a system of racial segregation. It was a stark example of the depths of human rights abuses. As we trace the journey from its origin, resistance to the end, we witness humanity's resilience against oppression. The lessons are clear: the importance of empathy, unity, and the power of collective action. As we reflect on apartheid, we are reminded of Mandela's words and the importance of standing up for human rights. Remember, history is not just about the past, it's a guide for the future.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. That's all for Nifty Narration.